Perfect. Thanks very much, Andrew, and welcome to everybody on the call from a cool and overcast Johannesburg this afternoon. So I'm just going to take you through a little bit about a digitalization journey in mining, some of the thoughts that we have around that, and then I'll end it off with a project that we've been working with here in Africa, just to talk about some of the initiatives that we've had and what companies have done in real time to actually take this journey around digitalization. So, digital transformation's been at play in many industries for a very long time now. Obviously, it really started off in the late 80s and 90s in the aerospace, and then obviously the automotive sector with building, digital mock-ups, 3D mock-ups, and the need for the manufacturing industry to actually understand what it is that they're building, to be able to link their designs with what the end consumer is actually after. But more recently, that's taken steps further. We've seen digital twins and digital mock-ups in the construction industry. We've even seen it in healthcare, where we're able to actually go and visualize heart transplants, surgery, before we actually go and do that. So surgeons are able to actually practice their maneuvers, inserting the valves, whatever it is that they're doing before they actually go and do that surgery, just to get the technique right, to understand what it is that they're doing before they actually do it itself. More recently, we've seen in the case of cities and in the case of China, being able to build three-dimensional models of hospitals and monitor and simulate the flow of contaminated air around this COVID-19 virus. So the need for digital twins, the need for companies and industries to go on digital journeys has been there for a while, and it's ever increasing. Briefly, a little about Dassault, and really this is just to provide perspective to those on the webinar this afternoon. The company comes out of aviation. There's two sides to it. One obviously builds lovely Falcon business jets, and the other side is actually a software company. And over the last 30, 40 years, we've been developing software to actually help clients and industries undertake that digital journey itself. And really what it's culminated in is that 3D experience platform, which brings people, brings suppliers, brings innovators together in one place. So that's enough around the sales pitch. Let's actually more talk about, well, what's going on inside mining. Why do companies in mining want to undertake this journey? What for? How do they do that? And what is this digital transformation journey about? So this comes, I referenced a report. Ernst & Young put out a report every year. This year's top 10 business risks and opportunities in mining, and essentially they rate all the risks that they see out there and reprioritize it based on the risks that come back from mining CEOs across the world. And I just want to highlight perhaps the top 3 risks there, being licensed to operate, future of workforce. And in fact, that was touched on in the previous presentation. And then obviously around digital and data optimization. And what's this got to do with going on a digital transformation journey, particularly around mining? So if we look at the first one, which is that license to operate piece, we've seen in mining the increasing need for us to become more clear, to be more transparent to our stakeholders, to give them an idea of what we're up to, but also to be able to put it in a world where people can understand, put it into visual components, be able to see how things are going to impact communities, how they're going to impact the environment. How are we going to simulate reducing our carbon footprints? So that license to operate continues to be important, but it's how we actually work with our external communities where mining companies need to actually take that digital transformation journey, because the world's changing. And, we just talk about the future of the workforce. Gone are the days in mining where we can operate on the back of a cigarette box. The skills are no longer there. People use technology in every single aspect of their work now, and mining's really got to get up to speed around that, being able to offer a digital workplace for people to work in, to be able to collaborate, to be able to share that data so that they can work remotely, as we've heard and we've seen on that Miro whiteboard, the ability to actually work remotely in far-flung parts of the world. That is going to be increasingly important. And the future workforce is very much so driven in a data technology world. And that's something that we need to be aware of. With all this data, how do we optimize it? How do we bring it together? How do we actually make sense of it? In mining, we've got lots and lots of pieces of technology, but how do we actually get it together so that we can actually make sense, be able to construct what is relevant, be able to understand what is relevant and react what's relevant? So these are, the three top things that mining executives are discussing today. And why they're actually having a look at going on digital transformation journeys, because it really is key to the sustaining of that mining industry. We've seen earlier on today in the presentations by David and Anders around safety, that being a critical part of it, predictability, understand what's going on inside that mine, and productivity, to drive that productivity, particularly where we're seeing that margin erosion that we're having at the moment. So what is it? What is it not? What is this digital transformation journey about? So I think it's probably important just to point out there, it's more than just going and throwing a piece of software at an existing process, because you really aren't going to get the benefits by just throwing technologies at pieces of isolated problems. It's about having a look at processes as a whole, having a look at value chains as a whole, and then actually rethinking those value chains, transforming the processes that we've got there, thanks to digital technology. So it's an enabler of that. It's important not to see it as just an IT project. It's not just something that you can go and tick a box and say, okay, great, we're going to go and deploy this piece of digital technology in 6 months, and at the end of it, we're going to sign off, and that's it. It's not about that. It actually requires a lot around the mindset change piece. There's a large amount of change management that comes with any digitalization project, because you're going through and you're changing fundamentally how people and how processes work. You're streamlining them, you're making them more optimal. And that there is an important piece. If you don't have the change management aspect involved in a digital transformation journey, it's unlikely to be successful. It's important to say it's not an end in itself. So it's just a component for changing your business, for improving your business outcomes. It's just part of a change that you're going to undertake in your business, in your mining business itself. And briefly, what I'll do is just go through 7 steps that we've identified, with companies, with mining companies, to get you on the path of going through a digital transformation in mining itself. So what does it take? I think first and foremost, it's about establishing a vision. It's not, as I mentioned, digitalization is not the end to itself. Companies, mining organizations need to explore these digital technologies as a means to become more agile and to enhance that productivity. Cash generation is key, but each organization needs to have a look at its own business drivers. And depending on multiple factors, where is that mining operation, what's its size, what commodity is it in, what's its competition, that there will drive its vision. So understanding where that mining company is coming from and where it is going to, being the key to drive that right digital transformation path. So then it's about having a look at the opportunities. Mining companies typically have a lot of vendors out there. There's a lot of technology suppliers out there, and each of those technology suppliers has got niche tools. They've got compelling value propositions in terms of the digital transformation journey that they believe that they drive. But it's important for mining companies to have a look at all these opportunities that are out there, and then bring together a number of these strategic suppliers and understand what it is what journey they want to undertake together. That leads me really to the third point there, and that's mining companies need to engage in a partnership. So, the journey is a long-term effort. It takes time, and it needs to be a trusted relationship between the mining companies as well as the strategic suppliers. So, for any successful journeys, the supplier has to obviously act as the trusted advisor in the best interests of the mining organization. But in return, the mining company also needs to keep faith in the partners, despite the potential step backs and obstacles that are going to go in front of them along this transformation journey. There will be step backs as we go through these journeys with mining companies. But as long as both parties are prepared to share the risks and contribute enough resources to make the necessary effort, it's likely to be a successful journey. The mining companies themselves need to organize to involve their organization, and really this starts at the top, where leadership needs to convey that vision, that digital transformation vision, and then provide that necessary support, the environment for change to take place. The other thing is for the leadership to highlight the progress of how these companies or how they are going on their digital transformation journey, and note the successes, share the successes, socialize the successes. And that's when you get buy-in from the organization. That's when things start really working well. So that roadmap, mining companies really need to look carefully about, what roadmap they want to undertake. You can't implement all the changes. You can't implement every single piece of technology that you think might work. You've really got to look at it and say, okay, let's go on a step-by-step approach. Let's have a look at the risks, mitigate the risks, and then partner with your suppliers to develop that roadmap. So it has to really be something that is collaborative. Look at the quick wins. See if there's initiatives there that we can see will bring immediate or very short-term wins. And the reason for this is to obviously show that things are working, minimize the risk. So have a look at some opportunities where you can maximize the return but minimize the risk, and then prioritize those at the beginning of the journey. And this is really just to make sure that you get that buy-in throughout that transformation journey. And then last of all, identify a pilot project. So, obviously in the mining industry, we've got a lot of mines spread geographically all over the world, and that's difficult, to make sense of where you could implement a pilot, on what mine, what location, etc. But perhaps to make it easier, what mining companies need to look for is champions inside their organization. Identify champions, people within their mining companies that are going to lead this innovation, that are eager to be role models to make that change. And these are the 7 steps that we largely went through with the case study that I'm about to go through. And we're still going through this journey with Debswana. So this is a presentation that I presented jointly a couple of weeks back, together with a gentleman by the name of Brian Chiomba, who heads up Debswana. He is the principal business process integration. So Debswana, just by way of introduction, for those that don't know, is a diamond mining company in Botswana. It's a company that's 50% owned by the government of Botswana, and then 50% by De Beers, and obviously De Beers feeding through into the larger Anglo-American group. So remote, yes. Beautiful part of the world. Wish I was there right now, near the Okavango Delta. But they have, by and large, 4 mining operations in Botswana. 1 in the south, Jwaneng, and then 3 in the northeast central part with the Rapa, Damancha, and Letlhakane mines. Head office based out of Gaborone in the southeast corner of Botswana, and Debswana itself has around about 12,000 employees. Debswana went through looking at what it wanted to achieve. in a digital transformation journey a couple of years back. So they're a progressive company. They wanted to see, well, what it is that we could do, that we could work with them to actually bring about that digitalization change and go on that journey. So, well, why? And perhaps really just, to highlight on three things around the operational context, why they actually wanted to go on this journey. Well, one was they're dealing with more and more complicated deposits. Things are getting deeper. They've got a number of open pit operations. The pits are getting deep. They're getting wide. And obviously that's getting geotechnically challenging. And obviously with depth comes safety issues. To be able to go and map 400 meters down in the bottom of a pit, that's 400 meters of rock above you. Anything can happen to those geologists that are sitting at the bottom mapping the face, let alone just the operation issues with trucks, cycle times, getting that material up from deep in that pit through to their plants. And talking about their plants, some of them are up to 40 years old. So they've been around for a while. And obviously with aging plants, there's all kinds of challenges, geometallurgical challenges, there's all kinds of energy costs, water usage, safety issues, breakdowns that are taking place. So those were their operational challenges that they faced. And they looked at a number of technology trends out there to see, okay, well, what could they do with all the trends that are out there and bring it into mining? So they obviously had a look at Internet of Things. And again, mines are full of these devices, whether it's fleet management systems, whether it's SCADA systems, whether it's drones, but can you bring it together, put it in a place where people can make sense of it, easily share these very large data sets? Can we apply things like machine learning, robotics? Can we apply analytics? The technology is out there, but how about bringing it into mining? Just again, highlighting the safety piece around augmented and virtual reality. So going and operating in plants, how do you train people in diamond plants? That's obviously one, a security risk, and two, a safety risk. And then blockchain. So what about traceability of their products, particularly with diamonds being a very small, high value commodity? So those were some of the things that they looked at. And coming from their Dreams book, this is what they saw as being their mine of the future. So again, sustainability being key, safety being key, things like a connected workforce. And particularly now, we've actually seen some pretty innovating things coming out of Botswana with them working remotely, even though production is now shut for the moment. But certainly management continues, and just keeping connected, using digital technology to keep them connected in this time when they're not working. Other things that they wanted to talk about: connected maintenance, being digitally ready, and then obviously connected operations. That's what they were looking at. So for them, the journey that they needed to undertake was really to be able to put together a unified platform. So for them, they saw that they had a lot of systems out there. You can imagine operations running for 20, 30, 40 years. You've got a lot of systems out there. Some of them are old and very siloed. So for them, what they needed was to put together a single platform where they could actually share their ideas, they could collaborate this information, they could have a single source of the truth of all forms of their data. They could look at modernizing their systems. So some systems were so unique that they needed to keep, but others were old. And is there an opportunity to clean out the cupboard and start replacing some of these legacy systems with things that operate on a single platform? So for them, that was key. They wanted a single version of the truth. And for them, what they went on over the course of the last 18 months is deploying this 3D experience platform for mining. And really what it is, it's a business platform that underlies that value chain all the way from exploration through geology, engineering, scheduling, production. It's an open platform. It connects with other systems that are out there. It has the interoperability interfaces. It connects with that mining Internet of Things. It provides that data analysis. It provides that immersive tools, as well as the 3D modeling and authoring tools that they needed. Perhaps just coming back to my earlier point around looking at initiatives. So again, what we really did is took them through a process of value engagement. We went through a number of workshops with them, really just to take a step back and understand at a broader level what their issues are, and what could make sense for them in their mining environment, where they could bring about real change that could bring about real improvement and productivity. So they had something like 8 initiatives. I'm just going to show you some of them, just to give you a flavor for what they are doing, but what other mining companies could do in taking them along this journey of digitalization. So first thing was to put together a virtual plant tour. So this was an immediate outcome, and it was largely around training and around safety. So using augmented reality, putting together a virtual tour of their plants that they could use to train people up, but also get stakeholders who come to visit the mine. So you could just imagine going for a tour of a diamond plant, the security risks associated with that. But if you've got an immersive experience, you could do it. And again, Debswana being 50% state-owned, the requirement for them to actually share this with their stakeholders, be it the local community or be it with government, was immense. So put that together, and some of the other initiatives around here include short interval control. So actually having a look at improving their productivity and their scheduling in shift, and certainly within very short scheduling periods, to try and react to plan, or at least to try react to changes to get them back to plan. So equipment breakdowns, people not working, rain, what effect that has on their schedule and on their people and their resources, and to try bring it back to plan. Other areas they looked at: geotech simulations, data intelligence around the mining and production space. There's some other initiatives around machine learning, GIS augmentation, and then of course industrial engineering. So perhaps I'll just pause there for a moment, just talk a little bit about that. Being remote, being in the middle of Botswana, to get spare parts is a challenge. Sometimes these parts for their plants come from overseas, and the lead time could be 6-12 weeks. So was there a way in which they could use 3D printing to print some of the parts for equipment breakdowns? And the answer is yes. So by being able to develop digital twins of their plants, again, they're able to see when there's breakdowns, what the components are, and again, be able to go and take it to a 3D printer and print off the relevant parts that they could make. So that's an interesting project, and certainly we're very excited about that. There's some interesting things that we're getting out of that. And then obviously around integrated business planning as well. There's a lot that you can achieve if you can see the whole value chain, the whole process, and be able to collaborate with all the stakeholders on the mine to integrate that together. Another thing, right before they went into lockdown, which was pretty interesting, was to take lean boards and do production meetings remotely with people obviously in lockdown in various parts of Botswana, with the skeleton staff on the mine, to be able to do the production meetings remotely. So being able to work together, to be able to have sticky notes, put them in place, be able to link back into the digital model to see what's going on inside their mine, to be able to go and assign tasks to people in a 3D lean environment, and they've taken it into the management team as well. So for them, it's an ongoing journey. It's been going now for a little over 18 months, and it will continue for some time to come. But really what they're looking to do is to bring that stability back into their organization, right at the bottom there, to get that sustainable productivity in place. And then once they've got that in place, to bring about the excellence, to improve, incrementally improve pieces of the operation to make it better, to make it more efficient. And then finally, if they've got all of that in place, then to be agile. So, to react to market changes in diamond prices, this crisis that we're going through now. But because they have transparency through the organization, to be able to react quickly and to make the right changes in the right place. So that's really all I've got to talk about around their digital transformation journey. And certainly I'll come back to you, Andrew, and open it up to the floor if anybody's got any questions.
Debswana runs world-class operation. Can we and how scale it down to smaller operations?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's key there. Look, not all aspects of this digital transformation journey are going to apply to every size company. And again, it's identifying those initiatives, and it's identifying those quick wins and going on those pilot projects that can deliver or show that value straight up. So you don't, by all means, have to go through this whole lengthy journey. You can go through smaller pauses or smaller changes along this journey, break it up into pieces.
Someone who'd like to know how CATIA is useful for the mining industry.
Good question. So for CATIA, really, that's around the digital twins. That's around asset management, asset maintenance, and there for Debswana, we've deployed it in plant. So for them, it's all about creating 3D models of their plants. And again, this could be components of their plants. It doesn't need to be the entire operation. So for them, it's creating those models, storing a digital twin, and then obviously with CATIA, you can link this through to maintenance, and then also into work order execution.
How were you able to pull the various systems together, APIs, data lakes, etc.? How long did it take?
Okay, so the 3D Experience platform is an open platform. I think that's probably important to point out. So it'll bring in data from other systems. The bringing it for Debswana, the key thing there was single source of the truth. So they had a lot of databases out there, and some of them were small all access databases, some of them were bigger Oracle, SQL implementations, etc. So we've mopped up some of these databases and brought them together in one place, so that we've got a single source of the truth in one place. So that journey by no means is a short journey. It has taken us the best part of 12 months to put that platform in place.
Okay, we have a few more. You talked about change management earlier in your presentation. How was this managed and implemented in the project? Okay,
in a couple of ways. Stakeholder management was key. So we've done a couple of things around that change management. One was to very carefully document the processes and the changes of the processes that we were going to undertake up front. So go through a series of workshops with the individuals in each of the departments, and then workshop what the changes were going to be. Document those, and then put them on collaboration platforms. So for example, in the 3D Experience platform, there's a swim community, say what you mean, and there you're able to share and collaborate the data or the changes in the processes that are going to take place. Other areas, putting together videos that you can share of wins. These could be small things like a change in a grade control routine, a change in a modeling routine, but what's the improvement? What's the outcome? What's the benefits? And then sharing those changes again in a collaborative platform or a collaborative environment, that has been key. to do, and that we've driven largely with Debswana together. So it's a journey that we've done with them together, whether it's been with their change management department or even as simple as their marketing department, putting small videos together on their boards, as you enter a reception area for any of, whether it's head office or the production environment, just running short promos about what we've done and the outcomes, the benefits that it's achieved. Those have been really helpful in getting people to actually buy into this change.
Okay, we have many of your 7 steps require a value proposition of business case. How difficult is it to put dollars to digital solutions in order to motivate the investment?
Yeah, good question again. So again, that we've had to work with the clients in that regard. And to put the value propositions together is, again, working with whatever those people who are in charge of each of those initiatives and understanding, well, what's the cost currently that they're going through? What's the pain points that they're currently experiencing? And if we do improvements, what could the expected gains be? And then trying to leverage a return on investment or dollar value to them. So we've done it with them. I think that's the important part. We've done it with them. We've come up with the numbers with them, rather than us coming back and saying, you're going to improve X percentage. It's been more collaborative.
Hey, what was the biggest quick win so far?
I'll tell you, it's probably been the 3D Lean initiative. And that was a win that we didn't initially identify at the outset. And 3D Lean, I mean, as we saw a little bit earlier in the workshop today, is similar to what we did with those sticky notes exercise. But now let's take it to a production environment. And there, it really was creating a digital element to their production meetings, but to be able to add the traceability and the accountability to those production meetings, assign tasks to people, and then keep track of who's got what. And that 3D Lean board is something that is easy to deploy. This is done and dusted in less than 5 days. But the benefit that they got out of that, and just being able to manage their meetings, even though they got together, this is before COVID outbreak, in meeting rooms, and some of them obviously came in remotely, the ability to be able to go and interact, see the models on the screen, be able to assign tasks to people, being able to take notes and then record that production meeting, and then issue work order instructions to people coming out of that production meeting. That was key. That was one of the quickest wins, and it's by far been one of the most successful projects because people just saw out the block the wins, the benefits.
Okay, we have a couple more. As you mentioned, there are lots of old platforms that the site is currently using. Would you please highlight some of the challenges that you faced for integrating them into Dassault platform? In particular, he's keen to know about the control platforms.
Okay, so those definitely have been a little bit more challenging. Some of the control platforms, some of the older legacy systems, because again, some of those legacy databases have been a little bit more difficult to interface with, and to be able to get those suppliers to understand. Really, what we're trying to do here is to actually just put something together in a place where Debswana can see. And to be able to share and to analyze that. So not being a technical expert, I couldn't certainly tell you what the technical pieces were, but it did definitely present some challenges, and it involved us having to go back to some of those original suppliers of those control systems and some of those old legacy systems to work with them collaboratively. And some of them are ongoing.
All right, last one. Could you provide the open source platform you referenced?
Yeah, sure. So for the open source platform for Debswana, in terms of the 3D experience platform that we put in place there, I'm assuming you want to know the underlying technology there, so that they put together in a SQL environment, Microsoft SQL. I answered that question correctly.
That's it from the chat line, Andrew.
Excellent. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, David. Well done. So now's the time to give David a clap, virtual clap.